Hey y'all, I'm Allison Asarch from Nashville, Tennessee.
Hey, I'm Sean Fraser from the Ritzy Kids.
Hunters, this is Johnny from Rail Motor.
Hey, it's Shane from Blind Season.
Hey, it's Rob Stanier, and you can check out my music on all the streaming platforms.
Check out my latest music on all the streaming sites.
Check out my debut album on all streaming platforms.
Check out our new debut album.
Check us out on Spotify and Apple Music, and you're listening to our friends Braggy and Curly.
My favorite bands from Australia.
My two favourite podcasters,
Braggy and Curly.
Braggy and Curly.
On the
Unfiltered and Undiscovered podcast.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome to episode 102 of the Unfiltered Undiscovered podcast. We're going to get straight into it, of course. We've got our co-host there in Braggy in Adelaide, Rossy in Sydney, and we've got a very special guest with us all the way from Spain. We've got Chris Masuak, Radio Birdman, Screaming Tribesman, New Christman, the Hitman, the ARIA Hall of Fame, and he's coming back to the East Coast. So welcome, Chris, and thanks for joining us.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see your joyful, smiling faces again.
It's delightful to see you.
And Rossy.
And of course,
The sarcasm.
Chris was with us. Yeah, Chris was with us for episode 59 of our podcast, and we called that show An Evening with Chris Masuak because that's what it felt like. It felt like it was an entertaining, educational. I learned all about downstrokes. I learned about how bad Hush were in the 70s. It was.
We learned a bit about European history, if I recall, too, Curly.
That's true and correct.
Yes.
A little
This
bit.
one could be called Date with an Amplifier.
Ooh, that's an album.
Well, that would be good if the amplifier actually worked. But my date with amplifiers is usually
Short.
a disappointment. It's a short date. There is fire and there is some degree of electricity, but it's usually a complete and utter failure.
I believe I've done some work to make sure that the current trip to Australia will meet your exacting standards.
Ooh.
And I expect nothing less from you, actually.
I know what we're up against, and I've got the phone call of the guy who can fix it.
Well, yeah. And how fast can you get to the gig? Well, you saw the back of my amp. There's a guy in Barcelona who makes amps, George. They're called George amps, and they're basically like boutique amps made in the old style. So mine is like a Vox AC30, but it's actually literally has imprinted on the back Masuak proof because he knows what he's up against.
I do recall that, like a Masuak proof is a very important standard to adhere to. I recall the story of your Lake Placid Blue Stratocaster. When you got the Floyd Rose put on it, the Floyd Rose put on it.
Oh yeah, that
in Sydney.
That seemed like a good idea at the time.
It wasn't.
It really wasn't, and it was just one of the many incredibly stupid things that I did with guitars and equipment in general.
I believe
So these days, I just get equipment and I don't touch it. My guitars are all, I don't change the pickups out. I don't do anything. It's all stock. And I think that actually is the smartest freaking thing anyone could do.
Yeah. I believe I was told that when you discovered that the guitar wasn't to your liking, that you appeared at the place, the door opened, and you rolled forward with storm clouds behind you. It said, "Tell so-and-so he's a dead man," and then rolled back into the lift and disappeared.
I don't know. It's quite possible. But, in those days, everything was an experiment.
It was.
The luthiers were just learning their craft. So, if there was a problem, it was my fault because I didn't know what I was doing. And it's like, like a Fender. I went to Fender and I wanted to buy some amps. So I tried the amp, 10 minutes, bang, it blows up. I take it back. Oh, you played it wrong. It must be your fault, you know? And I go, well, no, it says on your literature, crank it for those classic sounds. So I cranked it and it died. So to cut a long story short, 3 Fender amps all died, kept on taking them back. And the guys are going, oh, you're doing something wrong. And I go, man, I've been playing for 40 years. I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. So he says, I'll blow this one up. He gives me a Vibro King. 10 minutes, bang, I blew it up. So they sent it off to their tech. I can't remember who the guy was. Some guy in a little hut out in the western suburbs. You know, like nobody. You know, he just doesn't even come out in the daylight. And they re-soldered everything and reset the tubes and stuff. And then it worked. And I had a very good relationship with Fender for a long time until I met the manager.
I don't believe she works there anymore, Chris.
I can't believe that the entire country of Australia and all the representatives for Fender and all the people who sold those products put up with her for that period of time.
Yeah,
it's just fucking crazy. Anyway, we're not here to talk about her. We're here to talk about Rossy.
So, well, let's talk about your tour first. So your first gig's the 19th, Friday the 19th of May. It's Chris Masuak and Dogshot Soldier. Tell us who's in the band and how that came to be.
Well, last time I played, which is like 6 years ago, we recruited the Chief, Tony Bambash from the Lime Spiders, of course, and Stu Wilson, who's just been on tour with the Crisps. So he should be playing pretty solidly. Yeah. And anyway, we've been kept in contact and they know everything already. So it was kind of a no-brainer. And so here we are, back in the saddle again.
They were champing at the bit to get back and have a crack too.
I hope they are. They are. 6 years on, people slow down in that time, and all those kids just can't seem to keep up with us.
So the gigs themselves, Chris, is it a walk down memory lane, or are you spicing it up with new stuff?
I've got quite an extensive back catalog, as they say. Yeah. So it's actually quite difficult to pick what people might want to hear. So I'm kind of picking the songs that I like the most, I guess, and are the easiest.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you going to have much time for rehearsal, Chris? When you get, how much? What's the window?
I think we're going to have a desultory rehearsal. We'll
what keys this one in again?
Plug away in the evening.
Huh? Yeah. What keys this?
The other goes. Stu and Tony
it
are
starts
pros.
1, 2, 3, 4. They all start the same, 1, 2, 3, 4, and off we go.
Do you know Tony Carenti, the old Italian drummer who played on some of the AC/DC stuff? He's pulled me aside the other day. Goes, you start at the same time, you finish at the same time. No one notices the middle.
Yeah, that's right.
True.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of diddly in the middle, and then
That's it. Excellent.
I think most of the songs are designed to to sing along. So it's audience participation, and Rossy will be running off and on stage, hopefully.
Yeah,
and he's like the chick with the little placard,
the wrestling card, round 3.
Yeah. Like in the Gong Show or something,
Yeah, there'll be a bit of that.
It's going to be a trip. It's not really a trip down memory lane. It's just a sort of a grab bag of the I guess the most popular of the historical artifacts, and then the new stuff, because the new stuff is like a lot of fun to play. Yeah, and it's only a trio, so there's lots of stuff to do. It's like doing that. Yeah. Which I actually can.
And go for it. So now Braggy's been trying to ask a question.
No. I wasn't going to ask a question. I was just going to say, if you're going down memory lane, I guess the the parts you don't remember, hopefully the audience will, and so you'll be fine.
Well, yeah, and I think the hardest part of all that stuff is the singing stuff, because as one of my ex-singers complained, there's too many words.
There's too many words. Okay.
Well, a lot of these songs, I've been playing these songs for like coming on 50 years now, I guess, a lot of these songs. And in all that time, it's interesting to note that I actually don't know the words to a lot of those songs. So I've had to go and listen to, like literally listen to the songs and write it down and then, rediscover them. Playing's different. Playing, you go, what the, I was listening to like a Curse. And I was listening to the solo because everyone keeps on asking me, how do you play that? I was going, I have no clue. I don't even know what the heck is that guy doing, And I had to sort of stop thinking and then just go into genetic memory, and then it came back. And it's the same with a lot of the old material, especially the Birdman songs. You go, what the heck is that? And you just have to go throw yourself in the deep end and hope your fingers know what they're doing, and most of the time they do.
To be fair, when you do the Birdman stuff, you actually you pull double duty. When I hear you play stuff like Hand of Law, you're actually playing both parts, and it freaks me out.
Yeah, well, it's fun, and also like things like I-94. That's like a 2-guitar song, and I've had to learn how to play, both bits at once, and that's the fun of it. Because, they're fun songs anyway, but, playing them, both parts at the same time is kind of neat. And then some idiot's got to sing on top of that. So your brain's doing like multiple tier duties and someone's going to screw up eventually. But, like you say, everyone sings along with you and they don't notice.
That's it.
And you've released Tract Home Chippy.
Tract Home Chippy. Yeah.
Yeah, and you recorded. I'm taking it. You did the recording in Spain, and then the Aussie tracks were laid down here. How was that? Describe that process.
Yeah, well, Stu actually asked, "Hey, is there any songs that we can, do? Maybe put out a single, in anticipation of the tour?" And I got a ton of stuff. I've got a lot of songs that aren't suitable for my Viveda Wave Riders, and then I've got my garage band in another village, Los Revelators. It's just like more garagey, 60s poppy thing. And so I've got all this other stuff floating around. And so I sent him this just a demo I have with this primitive Porta Studio. And I sent him the demo, and he and the chief put down, their tracks to the demo and sent it back to me, and I went into my studio in literally in deep Galicia. It's in the middle of deep Galicia. There's nothing out there, not even cows. It's just woodland and hills. I've got this Victor engineered by Victor somewhere in Galicia, because there's no address.
Wow.
And so he's the guy I use all the time. And we just like went in one afternoon and I put down a ton of guitars and vocals. And then I sent it back and it was lacking something. So we went, Rossy! and he and his son Angus from Pocket Watch added a whole bunch of magical harmonies to it. And that made it what it is.
Tumble down the zip line. Shake it up, Teddy, it's a real good time. See you in the morning. she was a criminal. Hooked me up with a serial killer. My release was conditional. Spit me out like a Tract Home Chippy. If you do the felony, you gotta drop a dime. Let you go. If you do the felony, you gotta drop a dime. Let you go. We don't want it. Sail me down a river. Jack me up like the latest flipper. Drop a double eagle in the calaboose. Put your shoes on, Lucy, turn me loose. If you do the felony, you gotta drop a dime. Let you go. If you do the felony, you gotta drop a dime. Let you go. We don't want it.
That's awesome.
Tolerably listenable.
And a lot of the work was done at the deliciously known Stewart Studio, which is Stew Studio.
Yeah, Steve Studio,
That's great.
which is somewhere in Sydney.
Yeah, Newtown, Marrickville, somewhere like that. Somewhere in the inner West Delta.
Stew Studio could only be in Sydney or Australia at least.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I'm hoping that, when we do the gigs, after a few gigs, maybe we can. I mean, these days it's really easy. You can record the band live. You just plug this doodad into the desk, and there's a live album in there. Once you clean it up. So maybe we'll get something out of that. That's kind of fun and interesting too.
Chief
tell us
and
about,
Stu are great.
Chief and Stu, yeah.
Why?
But we're gonna have to get I want to get some dancing girls, like go-go dancing girls, and we need to have a choir, so that we can do the backing vocals. So we need some, like Angus and the other guys in the band, and we need some girls because they got for the really high bits. So I think we should have a big production.
Okay, you got that handle, Rossy?
Like Tom Jones.
Huh? I'm taking
handle,
notes.
Big
I'm
Rossy?
writing it down.
Okay.
I'm writing it down.
What about brass?
Actually, I've got Barman in another window. I'm just giving him instructions.
Yeah. And also Barnsey. We got to get Barnsey on stage. So
you can do some Elvis with him.
Tom Jones. I'm going to do some Tom Jones with him.
Beautiful.
No, I think Elvis has been hammered into the ground. I don't think we need any more versions of Edge of Reality or Viva Las Vegas or anything.
So you're bringing your book out on sale at all the gigs, Chris?
Apparently, yeah. I've been. Apparently, we're threatening to do that thing.
So how's the book going for you?
Surprisingly, I haven't had a bad review yet. Everyone is like their response is first like, huh? Like it's perplexed, and then they go, oh, that's kind of. And I've been and the guy who prodded me on, Robert Brokenmouth, said that I had developed a new genre, a completely new genre of writing, which I think is pushing the envelope a little bit. But apparently, people seem to be pleasantly surprised. So. I guess that's success.
Robert assures me there's a sequel to be had out of it. He reckons
there are pieces of paper all over the floor and refrigerator at the moment. So perhaps the process is arcane and rather cumbersome, and that's why I need him to, collate. He comes by and he picks up all the garbage and goes through the waste bin and opens up all the bits of paper and goes, oh, don't throw this one. This one's garbage.
Makes the odd phone call to do some fact checking.
Yeah. Well, actually, facts are irrelevant,
That's what, of course.
Because it's really not about facts. It's about behavior.
I like the fact that I like that you don't name names, that you just tell the story and let the behavior speak for itself.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's not. It's the person is irrelevant, and it's actually I've been quite surprised that people don't seem to be able to pick individuals all that accurately. So I guess in a sense it was successful.
That's good.
It was like a mystery. It was like a mystery novel in many ways, because I'm reading it and I'm trying to understand who you're talking about. And it was doing my head in for a while, and then I said, just enjoy it. Just go for a ride with it and enjoy it.
Well, it's like a good song, isn't it? You got to have the mystery of a good song. You don't know what it's actually about. Everyone can interpret it their own way.
I haven't felt like that I haven't felt that since I read Clockwork Orange, unbeknownst to me that there was a glossary in the back.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, you know what, Ernie O, when he was mixing the Tract Home Chippy, he kept on asking me, "What the hell does that mean?" And, he said he had to go to the thesaurus several times.
Is it a tract home like those housing developments?
It is.
Yeah, back in the 40s and 50s after World War II, there was a lot of guys coming back. So the President of the United States had a smart idea. It was, get everyone working. So he just built these huge developments in the middle of nowhere, which became suburbs. And the tract homes were like basically just, they were pre-made. You just put them up, bang, bang, bang. But it gave people work. And it became synonymous with poverty. Lower class people. Lower class people lived in tract homes, and a tract home chippy is a woman of suspect virtue who lives in such a place.
So,
according to Lenny Bruce.
Yes, I was going to say, tell us about Lenny Bruce and why this all relates. And was he? I guess he's kind of punk comedian, wasn't he? He broke the rules, stuck it to the man.
Well, yeah, he was a pioneering comic and social commentator and satirist, and he was basically tarred and feathered for obscenity. Yeah. And what he was doing was basically just reflecting society. He wasn't, by today's standards, he wasn't obscene at all. You hear worse in a reggaeton record, and or on Netflix. You turn on Netflix and you listen to the soundtrack to any Netflix movie that's got like a black kind of culture thing happening, and the lyrics are like, what? How can that be on television? But Lenny Bruce pushed that boundary, and I've always been a really big fan of Lenny, and I really dig his patois, the way he talks, the way he crafts his bits. And so Tract Home Chippy, I don't know, really what it was just a amalgam of all these film noir, obscure terms and archaic terminology, stuff that's no one uses anymore. And I just have a ton of terminology and just cobbled it all together, and it became a story about this Tract Home Chippy of all things. And I don't know, drop a double nickel on the calaboose. Well, a nickel is 5 years. So you're spending time in the jail, 10 years in jail, double nickel,
Okay.
So who understands that? Nobody.
Well, we do
but
now.
Me. and I dig that, I like writing stuff that's just oblique.
Yeah.
It's completely meaningless, but
over the years, as having spoken to you a couple of times over the years, I hear songs and there's a turn of phrase that it just pops up occasionally, and I just go, it's a Masuakism. Absolutely. Like you sing like you talk. You communicate the same way.
Is that a good thing or
a little from column A, a little from column B?
What the? My little boy Gabriel here. He's got a peculiar situation because we speak mostly English at home, and he speaks English, but he speaks like me. So his accent is like this weird Canadian thing. It's not Spanish, no Spanish accent whatsoever, and he speaks Spanish with a Canadian accent, and his vocabulary is nuts, and he's always going, Dad, why do you talk like that? What are you saying?
I suspect kids at school have been called belligerent.
Yes, yeah, and he's got a real sense of righteous indignation. So, he's always coming home and going, that kid at school, it's so stupid, and I get the story for a half an hour of how some kid sniffed a flower he shouldn't have, whatever.
So Chris, Rossy shared a couple of stories about him and yourself on the road. What were some of your favourite memories of working with our man Rossy?
Well, you have to remember back in the days when we were, playing with various bands that could tour, and had that big enough audience to tour, had a truck or two, because they had to carry their own PA, their own lights. They had to have, because they had all that stuff, they had to have at least 3 guys on the tour, on the crew. So you got a sound guy, you've got a lighting guy, and you got a jack of all trades. And they all knew everything to do with the road, everything. If the truck broke down, they had to fix it, And if there's a big incline, and the truck's just loaded with equipment, the band would stop on the road and wave the truck down, hey, and then zoom off in their band car, and of course the truck's facing uphill and can't start. It can't continue. So they had to deal with that kind of stuff. But mostly what they had to do was arrive at a venue which is completely unprepared in any way, shape, and form to have a band, and then create the venue. So they would build stages, put in lighting, whatever you call them. What's it called? The big things that the lights hang off?
Truss,
yeah. Yeah, they had to do everything. So, it was just a shell. And when the band arrived, it would be, and these blacks and beautiful stage dressing. And that's what these guys did. And and the band swanned in and took all the fucking credit.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Exactly. They were a phenomenon, and we were extraordinarily privileged to have that particular group of people working with us for so long, which is a testimony to their tolerance and quite possibly,
Was there ever? Did you guys ever?
I think the word you're looking for again is belligerence.
Everyone was belligerent back then, really, weren't they?
I was thinking mental resilience, Rossy. So.
Mental resilience.
Mental something.
Braggy, you had a.
Did you ever go on tours with other bands, or was it just?
Well,
and if so,
here we go.
if so, yeah, I thought this would react. If so, is there any one band that you learnt something from, or did they just learn from you?
Okay, this is actually quite an interesting question, because the nature of Australian bands is that they're completely uncooperative and resent each other completely. So there's never a sense of, oh, Screaming Tribes and you're going overseas, oh, fantastic. It's always, oh, those guys, yeah, blah, and so we, like I said, we were extremely fortunate. We had trucks, lighting crew, blah blah. We can tour. Hey, what a great idea! Why don't we go on tour and take all these inner city bands who have no chance in hell of going elsewhere, and create a festival, a circus, rock and roll thingy, and no one would cooperate. I don't want to go with these guys. I don't want to support them. Blah 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 blah. And the only time we ever did it was with Voodoo Lust, and with what was that band? Pete Wells' band.
Heart Attack.
Yeah. So there's Voodoo Lust and Heart Attack and the Hitmen, and we went out and did that, and we just had the best time, and everyone just got along famously. But that was the only time that we ever did it, because no one could frickin' cooperate. And so we just went, okay, fine, go get your own truck and go out there, And so it created this sense of resentment. It's like, oh, the Hitmen are, pop stars. Blah. Well, no, because every time you played with our bands, whether it's the Hitmen or the New Christ or the Screaming Tribesmen, you got everything. You got full PA, full lights, except for maybe a special or something. The crew treated everyone magnificently, and you rose to the level of your incompetence. So we just went, okay, fine. Yeah. And everyone has this opinion. We were bad guys, No, we gave you all the chances in the world, and you buggered it up. They arrived without the drum kit. We're going to use your kit. Well, no, you're not.
No.
We're going to use your backline. No, you're not. You didn't even ask. And of course, now that's the general thing. You turn up with nothing and you expect to use everyone else's stuff. It's just mayhem.
It does.
So anyway,
does my head.
I don't even know.
So.
I don't even know if that answered the question.
No, that was good.
I think two of the notable mentions, Chris, is when we toured with the church, they were very good to us, weren't they?
They were good. They were really nice guys. You sort of go into the dressing room and there's these pace, and you're like, oh wow, man, and it was amazing. They were really, really good live.
And of course,
that was the Tribesman day, so it was kind of a good blend of bands. It's like a night of power pop.
It was. The Tribesmen got just a little bit more of their jangle, and the church got a little bit heavier after that. It was funny. Both bands rubbed off on each other quite significantly.
I think we rubbed off on each other a little. I think, yeah.
And their crew and the band, the church treated our crew very, very well, which is really nice to see. I still love them.
Yeah.
I remember once bumping into Marty Wilson Piper in King's Cross at 4:00 in the morning, walking down the street, and he just said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm on my way home." So he said, "Jump in the car, I'll drop you." That's the sort of blokes they were. They really were.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Unlike say Billy Duffy from the Cult, Chris.
Well, they were a little churlish, weren't they?
They were a little churlish.
They didn't like being shown up for being incompetent palms.
Well, I remember in Newcastle, Ian Asprey's on stage going, "Get with it, you're behind the times." Now, I'd watched their crew set their PA up every day, tune it with Highway to Hell. They came out and threw secondhand AC/DC riffs at a Newcastle crowd who can spot a phony. and they were
Yeah.
giving him a hard time. And as we get with it, you're behind the times. We're all just sitting there going,
Yeah, and every gig, the Screaming Tribesman stage got smaller and smaller,
less lights,
and less lights, less fallback.
We've got them under control now.
Oh yeah, don't we ever? But in general, most every support band got treated really badly by Australian headline bands, which we didn't. That's why we didn't do that, and our crew didn't do that because we got so much crap from whatever band it was that we had to support, and big bands. So the Dragons and the My Sexes and whatever.
The Angels, the Radiators, the
Angels, Radiators. Fuck. In fact, we ran into Steve Gilpin many years later up in Queensland and told him in no uncertain terms what we thought of him and his band because of the treatment he got. And he didn't have a clue. He said, I'm so sorry.
He was a nice man. He was a nice man, actually.
He sure was. Was.
But yeah, so you're doing the tour. The other thing that I think is going to be really special is that Chris is doing a masterclass.
Yeah.
Which is, like people are coming in and Chris is going to unveil. He's going to be the Grand Oz and unveil pull the curtain open and people are going to see what's in there. I think it's going to be fascinating. What
either that, or they're going to go, he's got no clothes. How come he's naked?
Yeah.
So how's this going to work?
How's
it going to work? How's this going to work?
It's like, it's like I said, before I sat down and I listened to the solo to Like a Curse, and I go, what the hell? How do I play that? That's the question people are asking. How do you do that? Certain things in Radio Birdman songs, they're playing now, and they have guitarists in the band who don't know how to play their own songs. So they want to know, hey, how do you create that thing, and what are the chords? What are the actual chords? And we're like, okay, so I'll unveil the secrets, and really it's a lot about how, people played together and the sounds that they used, which created an amalgam. It was a product of disparate parts, really, and
because that's the secret. Stuff. Yeah, that's the true secret.
Yeah,
how everything fits together, tone wise, and that's cool.
Yeah, and there was a deliberate structure to that, which people aren't really particularly aware of. So, it'll be talking about those things, showing how they were done, and explaining how I play, how I construct things, how to create a dynamic in a song. Particularly if you're in a three-piece, how do you make a song sound big with three people? And those things are arcane, and you learn how to do it over time. It's you learn how not to do things in particular. So I think there's a lot to cover, and I'm not quite sure what people are going to ask. So I'm kind of prepping madly, listening to all the old songs, going, "What the hell is that?" Kind of working it out again.
Having seen it at close quarters over a long period of time, I think it'll be an eye opener for a lot of people. Just some of the little technique things, and like some of the things I think that people will probably pick up on is like just consistency. Just do it the same way all the time and do it properly the first time.
Yeah,
that's the stuff.
It's a discipline. I remember back in the old days, we used to have this thing about hitting the guitar with downstrokes, and of course we didn't really hit all that hard. It was the sound of, we had super light gauge strings in those days, 8s or something, 8 to 38, Ernie Ball Super Slinky or whatever they were called. So they're quite light gauge strings through amps making this huge sound, and we had this thing, it had to be all downstrokes. So we're playing these songs at tremendous velocity, downstrokes, and like blood's flying. And so when we went and saw the Ramones and watched them play, we went, "Oh God, it's just amateurs." So, and everyone considers them the peak of rhythm playing. We were like, nah, not good enough. Not good enough.
It's all about standards, isn't it, Chris? It's all about standards.
It's about standards. You have to maintain those standards, and even as you get older and enfeebled, you have to maintain those standards.
Oh dear.
We should do a show on rhythm guitar. No one ever talks about rhythm guitar and how important that is.
It's the thing that gives the song momentum, and you have to capture, you have to capture that wave and ride
it. It moves the song along.
Exactly. And all that diddly stuff is just, you're giving someone the opportunity to go off and do whatever they want to do, and giving them that board to come back onto and be safe.
Yeah.
But you have to be solid, and as Rossy said, you have to be consistent. And I don't see a heck of a lot of that in many of the bands. Now everything's kind of obscured by this really heavy, thick, super distorted sound, which kind of makes me laugh. You get a guitar magazine and you go, the sound of Slipknot. Oh yeah, what do they do? And you go listen to Slipknot and you go, what sound? There's aficionados can tell, I suppose, which band's which, but I suspect it's only because they know the songs, not the sound. It's just a blur.
Oversaturated.
Saturated.
Yeah.
Which is, and so like now you got people like Ross the Boss, and there's one particular film clip. It's like the Man of War doing battle hymn, and they got Man of War have had quite a number of guitar players, and they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 or 5 guitar players on stage, all doing the solo, and you hear this. Like, and it's all this super compressed, skinny little sound, and then Ross comes on and just blows everybody away because his tone is there. It's all about tone, attack, your dynamic, your attitude. It's not about all your gazillion pedals and effects. Then I think now people are using amplifiers as a platform for pedals, which is like it's a soul and tone sucking exercise.
So,
I've got this pedal. It sounds
Chris's sound has always been a lot cleaner than people realise. Like Chris is not. There's always been a sharpness and a brightness and a cleanness to your tone. You can hit a pedal and boost it a little bit, but there's fundamentally it's always been pretty clean. And you talk about Ross the Boss. Ross the Boss from the Dictators. Ross Friedman's always been one of Chris's benchmarks, and of course one of the other ones who I was there the day that Chris met him was your Buck Dharma from the Blue Oyster Cult. And as Chris has often said, if Ross or Buck didn't play it, I didn't steal it.
Yeah. I plundered those guys, shamelessly, because they're just, my thing is I really like guitar players that have a unique personality. And so you got the Buck Dharmas, the Ross the Bosses, you got Fred Sonic Smith, one unsung hero, Dwayne Aslaskin from Rocky Erickson's band. He recorded that album with Creature with the Atom Brain and Two-Headed Dog. Guitar players, they hit one note and you go, I know who that is. Jeff Beck hits one note, bang, it's Jeff Beck. B.B. King, bang, And that's what I'm always interested in. Not playing like them. I don't want to be, guitar karaoke like a lot of guys.
Two-headed dog is one of those tracks, isn't it? Wow.
What about the nutty guitar playing, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just really left of center stuff.
It is.
So, Chris, how are the Vivero Wave Riders going these days? Where are they heading, and what are you looking to do?
Yeah, we're kind of plugging away. We're just in the process of mixing a single for an American label. And I'm not quite too sure what's happening with that, but the barman could tell you. He's the boss of me, apart from Rossy. Rossy and the barman are the boss of me. So they just tell me to do stuff, and I go do it. And because otherwise I'm completely incompetent. But the Wave Riders have been in kind of remission here because we had, of course, the lockdown for like 3 years, nothing, like literally nothing, and so it's taken quite some time for things to, kind of regenerate. And now the scene's somewhat changed because, the venues have been closed for the most part. And now all these young bands are coming in, and the promoters have discovered they don't have to promote. And all these bands are prepared to play for nothing. So, that's cool. So, all the bands that have some degree of ability and competence aren't doing much because they don't want to play for nothing. It costs money to get from point A to point B. And so that, it's like free money for promoters.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a bit slow. I've got another thing called Los Revelators. Guys from another city, Lugo, which is a historic Roman city. It's a walled city. The 2,000-year-old Roman walls are still there, and people live in this place. And there's this garage band that wanted me to come and play. Come and play. I would like to have a play with you. And so I found I was playing guitar in this 60s inspired garage band. Oh, who's singing? And
did you grab a fuzz pedal? Did you take a fuzz pedal with you?
I tried a fuzz pedal, but it was limiting the ability to do stuff. So I had a silicon fuzz, which was really, really cool. But in the end, it's just clean Fender amp, my old 64 Bandmaster, and a Strat, and a few little bells and whistles, and just.
And so with those guys, Chris, you just play guitar. You're not writing any songs for those guys, or are you?
Oh yeah.
Well?
I got roped into being the songwriter and the lead vocalist
and the singer and the guitar. Came and took over.
We've got this band, Chris. Do you want to just come down?
Yeah, I got this band. Come and play. Oh, who's singing? You are.
You are.
But this band's really cool because it has an organ player. This is really great keyboard player. He's from Ecuador, but he's really into this, that Hammond B3, kind of Farfisa stuff, Fender Rhodes kind of sounds. So, it's really nice textures and colors. And it means that, I can do a lot less and get more out of it. The drummer is really good too. Him and the bass player were from a band called Los Contentos, which were like an 80s, 90s phenomenon in Spain. And so there's like a little bit of a, groundswell. I'm kind of floating on their glory more than they are on mine, such as it is.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. Yeah, they cop all the flack. I just,
You just turn up.
So, Chris, let's walk through your gigs that are coming up very, very soon. On May 19, you're at the House of Music and Booze. Now, Rossy is sharing a little bit of...
Is that responsible? The House of Music and Booze? Is that responsible advertising? Or should we be offended by that?
That's got a fabulous heritage bill that night. Your opening act is your Pocket Watch. Which then we've got the Dark Clouds, and we've got Star Crazy, which is fronted by the son of Warwick Fraser.
Oh, yeah.
They're a 70s glam band. Marcus is. You remember Marcus? We love Marcus.
Yeah.
Rossy.
We have a choir. We have a choir for our band. So perfect.
And of course, the next day is
as Tony reads out the venues, can you just give us a little, little thing on what the venues are like? Or tell us something about it,
House of
like
Music
you
and
are.
Blues used to be called the White Horse Hotel in St. Peter's.
Okay, I'm hip.
Yeah.
Yep, I know.
So then you've got a matinee show, a 1:30 p.m. show at the Lincoln Pen on the 21st in Woy Woy.
Boy.
We love the Lincoln Pen. The Lincoln Pen is it's a beer garden. It's outdoors. It's a Sunday session. Sunday afternoon in the beer garden. It's owned by Adam Brzezowski and Millie Dalton and Mark Fraser, who set up Vinyl Records back in the 80s and put out the first Turnbuckles records. And it's a really cool, groovy place. And we've got a local band. I believe the local band has got your Graham James Hood from the Johnnies in it. So no one will
Silver Dragon.
Silver Dragon. No one will be leaving sober, I suspect.
Is that? I think that's apocryphal. I don't think they really drink. I think it's just part of the image.
I'm here to tell you.
Or is it?
Oh, no.
It's
real. It's real. It's real. It's real.
Okay.
It really is.
Okay.
So then we're at the Northcote Social Club on the 26th. And Rossy playing with the River of Snakes and The Fiction. So
Northcote's a fabulous gig. We did that with the Hitman in Niagara, Chris.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that one now. Yeah.
And
yeah,
Darren Hinch turned up that night.
Darren Hinch, and he had the temerity to refuse to have us on his show.
But he did pay to get in.
Well, yeah, and actually, he did get a discount.
all right, then the 27th, the Barwon Club Hotel at Geelong.
Oy.
And who are the support bands there, Rossy?
Now I've got that written down.
Fiction is there, and Baby 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Barwon Club's are very famous. Yeah, they try to claim that Geelong is a suburb of Detroit, but we know Sydney is. They call it G-Troit. They call it G-Troit.
Yeah,
it's not right.
Geelong. Yeah.
Geelong's historic, though. It figures in Australia's rock history, and it's fallen somewhat into disrepair over the years, but a lot of that's required for authenticity.
Mm. And then we're heading to Canberra to the Smith's Alternative.
Yeah, it's a bookshop in Canberra. It's a fabulous indie gig, and I believe that your Alison Manders will be there looking after you that night, Chris.
Well, we can sell my books.
Yes, that's right. But it's a great place, Smith's Alternative. It's been the On and Ons have been going down there. The River, which is Stewie's old band, they've played there a fair bit. It's a good place.
And Bruto, is it Bruto the support?
I believe Bruto. I think
yeah. So and then we're in Newcastle, good old Newey at the Stag and Hunter, and Joey's Coop. Is that Brett Myers?
Brett Myers. And
East Coast Low.
Al Creed.
Support band.
Al Creed, ex New Cross as well.
I think everyone who plays in any band is ex New Christ.
I think you're right too. But he's also Al is actually an aberration also with both Stuart Wilson and Tony Bamback.
It's kind of it's inbred, really. Sing.
And then as we continue up the coast, we're playing the Federal Hotel at Bellingen with the Nicky Websters.
The Nicky Websters.
Bellingen. I don't know if I've ever played in Bellingen. Have we ever actually played in Bellingen?
Not that I can recall. I don't think anyone really does play there either. But it's Pete Buffo, I think, is booking that or put it together. It should be is a bit of a hotbed of independent music activity up there, I believe.
Well, it always makes sense to go there because it's like on the way, you know, to elsewhere, and you kind of drive through those places in the middle of the night, and you go, well, I don't want to keep driving, you know. Back in those days, there was kind of nowhere to stop.
No, there
the
wasn't.
Big Prawn and whatever.
The Big Banana.
In Ballina, the Big Prawn and the Big Banana, and you know,
The pineapple.
reasons not to.
Big Pineapple.
Big pineapple.
I got given the Big Pineapple a few times.
And then we end up at Vinnie's on the Gold Coast playing with Mick Madu and Ursula and the Square Tugs, and that's hopefully a gig that I get to. So looking forward to that.
Do you remember Mick?
Yeah, well, it's a big run, you know. Like when you think about it, it's like, you know, over 2,000 kilometers between, you know, the most fringe, you know, venues, and Spain doesn't even have 2,000 kilometers. You know, it's like the distance of the entire country is like between Sydney and Melbourne at most. You know, it takes me 5 hours to drive to Madrid from here.
I believe I believe Craig's done a spectacular job putting together such a disparate run of shows.
Well, yeah, and I think that he could very easily be the guy that does these tour runs in Europe, where, you know, you're in Germany one day and you're in Athens the next, and then you're back in Germany the next day. You know, that's my kind of tour. You know, thousands of kilometers apart.
Well, last time we did have a great experience with Craig when he ran us through the south of France. We had a delightful time, didn't we?
We did. We had a good time in the south of France, and a large part of that joy was as a result of Bruno
Mondo. What a guy!
Bruno's participation.
He was spectacular.
What could anyone do without Bruno?
How much fun did we have with Bruno? He was the most fun guy in the world.
It's hard. You can't have much more fun than a day with Bruno.
No, that's right.
And actually, in September, I'm planning to go up to France again to join up with Bruno and Greg Bowen.
The Outside.
To do a run with the Outside. Yeah,
that'd be great. That'd be great fun. Wednesday. Yeah. When are you doing that?
You never know what the heck's going to happen from day to day.
When's that?
So September. September.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That sounds like a hell of a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, come over.
Look, I'm busy that month.
You just don't want to get into trouble.
No. Yeah, well, I'll tell you about it when you get here.
Yeah.
Are you who are you most looking forward to catching up with, Chris, when you do get back into the country?
I can answer that.
Oh God, there's so many people that are trying to link up with me. I mean, so many friends. My boys are still there. My two oldest sons. I'm looking forward to catching up with them, of course. You know, Chris Shackles, just about everyone. You know, Peter, Rossy, that prick. The barman, you know, no, everyone. It'll be great to just. I mean, the last time I was there, it was very fast, and also previously I haven't been able to actually see people, and I've had some eye surgery over the last few years, so now I can kind of make out who people are. So even though I've met people before, now I can see what they look like. So it's often like a new, you know, it's every day. Every day's a new experience. Hi, who are you? I'm your friend. I've known you for 40 years. You know?
Oh no! So you're actually going to get to see what Rossy looks like now. Is that right?
Yeah.
No, he'll just see the back of my head. He'll just see the back of my head as I'm down fixing a pedal.
Yeah. Well,
changing the tubes.
Ponytail. No.
There is no ponytail, Chris. There's no ponytail.
How can that be?
So the turnbuckles aren't playing during that period of time, Rossy?
No,
That you're
no,
aware of?
I believe the turnbuckles aren't playing until July.
Okay. So
Yeah.
which is a shame.
Yes.
Which is a shame. Okay, so Braggy, any last questions? We're almost close to that 1 hour
No, I
mark.
think I've covered. I've done everything. Yeah, it's just been great to listen to these two guys here talk about the old times and gigs and stuff. It's fascinating.
Yeah, the old days.
The old days.
Old school.
When I was young, we had.
Anything from you, Rossy?
Yeah, I meant to mention that, that quad box you had with the green slip cover on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that gave me a shoulder reconstruction. Whole other story.
Well, we remember that we got those other ones that were like built-in road case. You just took the front off them.
I know. Oh, couldn't throw those on our shoulder very easily.
Yeah, but those were given to me by a drug dealer next door. A bunch of seriously, they're given me by these two South American drug dealers because I spent the afternoon playing music and giving them beer while they were conducting business. And I was really polite. And they said, we're going to give you a gift. I said, no, nothing's necessary. We're going to give you a gift. What do you need? I don't need anything. Tell me what you need. Well, I don't know, quad box. So next day, bang, I got a quad box in the front door. Knock on the door. And Peter had to carry it.
Oh, no.
So it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how,
Chris,
that's how it works.
Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure having you again
Thank you.
on the podcast. The links to the shows will be in the show notes, as to will the links, obviously, to the music that you put out with Dog Soldier, and of course the Wave Riders. Looking forward, I'm sure that there's a whole mass of new fans that are going to learn more about Chris Masuak and the legend that he is in Australian music. So thank you so much for your time. I wish the tour's a big, huge success for you.
Yeah.
Well, all that rides on Rossy's shoulders, really. So
Yeah.
It's all on you, Rossy.
Got it covered. Got it covered.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you very much.
Catch that tidal wave into the city. Hit the stage alive, no sense of pity. It was a pretty thing, and now it's dead inside. A pretty thing, oh, dead inside. We're not going to the fun house, 'cause we're not young anymore. We're not going to the fun house, 'cause we're no fun anymore. Brotherhood are lost and paralyzed, abandoned in a land of living lies. They were pretty boys, but now they're dead inside. Our pretty little boys are lost and dead alive. We're not going to the fun house, 'cause we're not young anymore. We're not going to the fun house. spitting blood. Rusting iron spinning in the mud. It was a pretty thing, but now it's dead inside. A pretty little thing, all dead inside. We're not going to the fun house, 'cause we're not young anymore.
Hey y'all, I'm Allison Asarch from Nashville, Tennessee.
Hey, I'm Sean Fraser from the Ritzy Kids.
Punters, this is Johnny from Rail Motor.
Hey, it's Shane from Blind Season.
Hey, it's Rob Stanier, and you can check out my music on all the streaming platforms.
Check out my latest music on all the streaming sites.
Check out my debut album on all streaming platforms.
Check out our new debut album.
Check us out on Spotify and Apple Music, and you're listening to our friends Braggy and Curly.
My favorite bands from Australia.
My two favourite podcasters,
Braggy and Curly.
Braggy and Curly
On the
Unfiltered and Undiscovered podcast.